I think I finally understand it. I think I finally understand why faith as small as a mustard seed can move mountains. Jesus says this in the Bible. And for a long time, I kind of didn't understand what did he mean by that. Like, clearly, even if you have a little bit of faith, sometimes nothing happens. But I'll give you an example that has happened with me recently that's really put it into context. So I've been trying this new tactic when I procrastinate on something or I don't want to do something, and I tell myself, do 1% of what the your ideal version of yourself would do. And it sounds simple, but it's literally radically changed my life and how I approach things. So I might be doom scrolling and I think, ideally I'd want to get up and work out, or ideally I'd want to get up and do this task that I've been putting off. And because that feels so heavy and taxing, I'm like, I can convince myself to keep doing the doom scrolling. Then I tell myself, okay, what would the 1% of myself do? And I reward myself mentally. Usually we don't reward ourselves until we've achieved the goal. For example, if your goal was to run 10K and you run 5K, you're disappointed in yourself. But if your goal was to run 5K, you're happy. Why? Because we have a goal or desire is an agreement to be unhappy until you achieve the goal. So now, with if you maybe you have executive dysfunction, you have ADHD or something like that, it becomes harder to do a task because you have this big expectation of yourself. So anytime you don't meet that, there's no dopamine. Like every step you take up to that point, there's no dopamine, which means it's not very attractive. It's not very motivating. But what this does, your bar for dopamine becomes so low that you're like, okay, why not? So if I told myself 1% version of me might scroll off of Instagram, like just tap off the app. And so many times I just say, okay, cool, I'll follow that 1%, go off the app. And then because I'm already there, I'm just like, I might as well like just put my phone down. Or what's the next 1% I might take? Or I don't have to take my notepad out and journal what I have to do, but let me just do it. Like that's what the ideal person, let me grab it. And once that's done, I'll kind of have an agreement with myself. I don't have to do anything else. Like I can literally put the pad back and I would consider that in my brain as a win. I'll consider that in my brain as the thing done. I would imagine as if I had completed the task. I would treat myself with the same joy and happiness as if I had actually done it. So there's a huge amount of dopamine surge that happens from just picking up the notebook. And then I'm like, oh, it's already here. And because a part of me already wants to do it, I just carry on. And then I make the notes. And then I'm like, oh, ideally I would actually make a to-do list off of these notes and actually act on them. But that feels like a lot of effort. And I'm like, okay, cool. Just do 1% of that. So maybe the 1% will just be grabbing the pen. But then once I grab the pen, I'm like, okay, I actually do want to do it. And I'm already here. So I just do it. But that's what I mean by faith as small as a mustard seed can move mountains. By only agreeing with myself to do 1% forces, whether it's the dopamine, whether it's, my motivational circuitry, work in favor after I've taken that first 1% step. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what I think Jesus was talking about when he says faith as small as a mustard seed can move mountains. And it's not that the 1% moves the mountain, it's the 1% triggers the actions in the universe that move that mountain forward. And maybe you can take this into your life today. Just think there's something you want to do, but you're avoiding it. Maybe just do the smallest possible version of it in faith. Start it. You never know what that's going to lead to. So many times I've started something small that's led to something big. Like I had a tiny thought. I started playing sax, but that all came from a tiny thought where a friend of mine had been talking about how she likes sax so much. And I realized someone in the church that I go to plays sax. And a fleeting thought came in my head. Why don't you ask him to see whether he'll teach you or whether he can borrow it? I didn't even know if if I'd have to buy one or whether he'd be willing to teach me or whether it'd be hard. I didn't know any of these things. But I just said, okay. And I could have ignored this. I really could have imagined the universe why I ignored this inkling. But I said, okay, let me just try it in faith. I don't care what the outcomes are. I don't care what other things I don't know. Let me just ask. And he said, yeah, sure. Funny enough, I also have a spare alto sax that I don't use anymore that you can use. And boom, now the past 3-4 weeks, I've been learning a whole new skill that's pretty rare and pretty unique of playing sax. It's kind of crazy. And it's like I played sax on my baptism as well, which is a really big day for me. So it's faith as small as a mustard seed can move mountains because you are in far less control than you think. But the actions you take ripple far further than you think as well. It's like that grandfather paradox. Like if you go back in time, you'd be so scared to change anything because one tiny change can butterfly effect change everything. But then we don't think about the present in the same way. One tiny step or change in the way you act, move, think, decide can have massive ripple effects for the rest of your life, the future. So, but we're still scared to take small steps, or we're so doubtful of them. We're so like, oh, that's not going to change anything. It can literally change everything. One small thought, one small action, one small conversation, one small movement can change your life. So have faith. Faith as small as a mustard seed can move mountains.